Game day.
Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10 Live. You're here with JP and Justin. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How's it going today?
It's going. There's been a lot of changes on Twitter and a lot of things going on during the season and a lot of players and a lot of stuff going on. I guess apparently something happened with, I don't know if it's Roger Goodell or who it was. I'm really not sure. I apologize. I'm sending a text to someone.
Great afternoon to talk some football.
I've been getting messages left and right. I'm going to do something really quick, and we got a special guest on, and I want to get him in here really quick. So let me see here. Oh, I think I know what I did. My fault.
Oh, this new website and everything. Tough to got to figure it out for.
It's definitely different. I have no clue what is going on here. We're going to get it fixed, though. There we go. Okay. Looks like we have this going now. This is all new technology for us, so we're trying to get it worked out. But anyway, it's been kind of interesting. Apparently, I don't know what's going on with Goodell. I really don't know.
It's been a weird season. We haven't lacked stuff to talk about as far as football related stuff because always something new, some new drama popping. So keeps us busy.
He's got it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know really what happened, and honestly, it is what it is. Whatever he ends up doing is kind of one of those situations that you have to deal with. But it's not a big deal. It's just over the Daniel Snyder stuff. Anyway, it looks like the Chiefs were interested in a couple of players, and it didn't happen. I'm not really sure why, but somebody got claimed off waivers, and everybody's been complaining about our run D and this and that and the other. And honestly, our run D is not bad. According to
it's actually one of the best.
Yeah, it's one of the best. So I don't put a whole lot of faith into what they say at certain times, but then at other times, they actually make sense. So analytics do make sense to a degree. When you put the personal element in there, then it kind of changes things. But it's there's a lot of complaints about what goes on and why we didn't sign this guy, why we didn't sign that guy, and I actually had a couple of calls today about it. And I think what people have to realize is we sign people we need, and if it's not in the cards, we're not going to do it. It's just kind of that simple. So
the Chiefs have been so successful that the asking price is a lot higher than it would be for most teams too. I feel like as far as
agreed, 100%.
So
100%. All right, JJ's jumping on the show, so we are going to get him on and see what he thinks. What's up, buddy?
Gentlemen, what is happening?
How's it going?
Good. It's going good. JP, you caught me at the right time. I was like, I needed a break. I was preparing for this presentation, so your timing was good.
Yeah, you're in Chicago, right?
Not yet. I fly out there tomorrow.
Oh, you fly out tomorrow?
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. This is Justin. He's been wanting to meet you for a while. So
Yep,
What's
good to
up,
finally meet
Justin?
you. How are you?
Nice to meet you as well.
yeah.
Excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
JJ's an awesome dude. He's been.
This is an awesome setup. I mean, this is pretty cool. You got the little 3 screens, and you got I like the
ticker tape. Yeah.
The ticker tape coming across the bottom. I like that. That's unique.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It worked out well. I've been working on this for a long time to get this thing set up correctly to where it's all live stream and working correctly. And it seems to be for the most part. This is about 5th show and doing live stream.
Yeah.
So can't complain too much. How have you been?
I've been good. You know, just like everybody else, busy.
Yeah.
It's the football season, so you're making time to watch the Ducks and the Chiefs, you know, my schedule. So it's been good though.
I mean, I was going to call you the other day, the last Ducks game. I was pleasantly surprised with some of the players on that team. I mean, they've got some beasts that are probably going to end up in the NFL really quick.
Yeah, they got a good squad, and I knew they had a good squad. And once I met Dan Lanning in the offseason, I thought, okay, this guy's he's going to maximize this. And I wasn't happy they were playing Georgia the first game. I did not like that.
That was kind of
rough. New team, new coach, new philosophy, and you're going to play the national championship first game. So,
they got to show – I guess they got to make it entertaining just for some degree. But, I mean, you know, they've really stepped up this year. I was surprised. I've watched a lot. You know, I watched them a lot. And there's – you know, last year the draft wasn't so – I guess quarterback heavy and things of that nature. You had certain areas that were just great. This year's draft, it looks like defense is going to be really good. The quarterbacks that are coming out look like they're going to be amazing. You know, compared to last year, you only had a couple that really stood out, which Malik Willis was my favorite. And now it looks like people are just going to be crawling into the NFL like none other. But we've been trying to explain this to people, you know, with the Veach era and the Mahomes era, that they don't just dive on people. They methodically pick players that are going to fit within their system and be able to grasp Andy's playbook. And if anybody knows a playbook, you do. Andy's got a Stephen King novel, as we've talked about before. And it's just not the easiest thing to pick up. I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's just not that easy. So what are your thoughts on the season right now?
I've been very pleased with the Chiefs. You know, more so because I like to see the growth, the progression, because that's what you want to see, because a team goes through a progression during a season and you want to see them trending up. And, you know, you just watch some things, you see how the defense is stepping up more, getting more pressure on the quarterback. The defensive backs are playing better. The offense, I mean, just seeing how Mahomes is using everybody now, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. And more importantly, I'm just impressed just seeing the growth of Patrick, because remember last year when he went through that slump when they were playing a certain defense because they could stop him?
Yeah, too high safety shell and
now he's adjusting. You know, he's adjusting and growing. And that's what you want to see in a quarterback that can make the adjustments. Because you know what? And I think I shared this with you last year, is that what a defensive coordinator will do is that if they see that a quarterback struggles with one particular coverage or blitz, they will design an entire game plan around that weakness until the quarterback can show they can beat it, which is what they kind of did with him last year. But now he's doing that. So it's scary for the NFL because he's just going to get better and better.
Yeah, I agree. It's been pretty amazing to watch him grow with all these, you know, rookies and first-year starters that, you know, everybody assumed that we were going to struggle and fall apart because we didn't have Tyreek Hill. And they've made up for that in so many different ways. I mean, it's not just one player. You know, when you have two guys that are just dominant and really everybody else is kind of a shell, you become predictable.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of became, was predictable. And now it's like they really don't know where to go. I mean, the guys hit 10 people in one game.
Yeah.
You know, so it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with it.
That's what the great quarterbacks do.
Yeah.
The really good quarterbacks know how to utilize all the talent. And like you said, you know, when Tyreek left, we were all crushed, but now defenses can't game plan specifically to stop him. And now it's like, it's so cool to watch how Patrick is spreading it around. So now it puts the defense in a tough position. Okay, let's go double team Kelsey. But then you got these other wide receivers and these backs, and that's what's really, I think, is going to put the Chiefs in a position to make a run to the Super Bowl, because when they stop one guy, how do you adjust? And that's what we're seeing.
Exactly. He's utilizing everybody on the field, like you said, and Juju's coming into his own. Everybody's gelling really well.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see. And what I think people don't really realize, or they don't realize, is that not everybody's going to have a perfect game.
Right.
So if you've got one guy that maybe, like MVS may not have the greatest game, but you got Juju that's going to step up, or you got Travis going to, it could be anybody that steps up at that point. I mean, heck, we've had Justin Watson step up, and all these guys that were shunned by other teams or whatever the reason may be, and they're fitting within our system.
Yeah.
Jody Fortson, to me, is one of the better players in the NFL. I wish he would not have the injury issues that he has, but that's kind of part of the game. But you were one of the lucky ones that really never had that issue. Well, other than one, but I was there for. But yeah, I mean, it was it's crazy to see how great they've stepped up. The defense, and I've told people this on the show, this is the fastest start to any Spags defense ever.
Yeah.
And that's what the most insane thing is you got 3 rookies in the backfield, a bunch of first-year starters with the Chiefs, and this defense is playing better than any defense he's ever had through 8 games. Yeah. So, and their run defense is actually, according to PFF, is one of the top in the league, but everybody still likes to, oh my God, you know how it is, JJ. I mean, every player that hits the street, we need them. I mean, that's
well, see, that's the thing. Like last week, there was a lot of Chiefs fans, and we were on social media kind of going back and forth, and they were really upset about that win. I was like, you don't understand. That was a big win for us, because traditionally we struggled against Tennessee in stopping Henry. They could never stop Henry. And like you said, they stopped the running game, and the Chiefs need a game like that where they struggle for 7 series. They don't score, and then they figure it out, because you go into the playoffs, those games don't ever work out perfectly, but it's who can find a way to win at the end, no matter what happens the first 3 quarters.
Exactly. I want to ask your opinion, because I've noticed this trend over the last couple of years with the Chiefs. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but do you realize, or have you seen that they actually play more dominant on the road than they do at home? Have you noticed that at all?
I don't know. I haven't, because I always thought, well, I guess you might be right. I always thought they played great at Arrowhead, but they've lost some games at Arrowhead, But I'm going to tell you, dude, someone asked me this question on TikTok. I don't think there's a real explanation to that. I mean, typically home teams usually play better because you're there, your crowd, and there's that energy. But I don't know, dude. I mean, but then you've seen the opposite. There were teams I was on when we played better on the road versus home. It just couldn't figure it out. There was no method to the madness.
There really isn't. I mean, I've had guys tell me it attributes to being in a hotel and away from all the noise at home and things of that nature, and just being able to study the playbook and be prepared and things of that nature, because you're really not, a lot of guys like you and everybody else, when you're done and you're at a home game, you're at home the night before, whatever the case may be, and you've got all the family dynamics and everything that's going on. But when you're away and you're on a plane, and then you get that night of rest, no noise, you can just study the playbook and go. And then I've had other guys say Mahomes really likes to dominate in other people's homes, because they play so much more dominant. I mean, they score a lot quicker on the road, it seems like. We're a little slower at home, and it seems like we can't get our bearings until the second half, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I've done both. When we were in KC, Marty would have us, we stayed at home. When I was in Atlanta, we would go to a hotel the night before, and, both teams, we made the playoffs, both teams, but everybody's different, JP, because I'm the type that hey, I'm going to do what I need to do.
Yeah, I know.
You can't distract. but you got a point. There's other guys that might be distracted and might get caught up into, the distractions when they're not away from family and all those other things. So yeah, everybody's kind of different, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I think, well, you've got a great wife and great kids, and they all your wife and kids understood your situation, and I'm not saying nobody else, the rest of the players don't, but you've been married to the same person now 30 years. So it's insane to think about how, when you got little kids and you got dogs and you got everything barking in the background, and then you're trying to study a playbook, and if you don't have that safe space, maybe that is a thing for certain guys, especially younger guys, that don't have the mindset or like you do. I mean, I watched you for so many years. I mean, I know how you are, and I know how you were, and you still are, for that matter. You haven't changed.
Yeah.
You're just in a different genre.
But I've had a wife that understood.
That's what I'm saying.
Understood that, this is my job. I need to focus. And my wife was always very respectful of that. So that kind of does help when you have a partner that understands, hey.
Exactly.
We used to have this little rule, like when she would drive me to the game at home, when it was a home game, we could not have any arguments. We could not have any disagreements. Because one time I remember we were fighting about something, and I'm like, I can't handle this right now. I gotta play in the game. And after that, we had this rule. Okay, no more arguments before the game. We'll wait till after.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got a new podcast out.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned that, because I think you and I talked about this. I had been thinking about having a podcast for years.
Yeah.
But I realized that I have 2 businesses. I'm too busy. I have no bandwidth. You understand the commitment. I congratulate you, but I just got too much on my plate. But anyway, as you know, I love to share success tips, just tips to help people achieve their goals. And someone once said to me, why don't you have a podcast? I said, I don't have time for that. I said, no. You be the podcast. Just grab your phone, you get this app, and you just share your tips that way. And because I'd love to listen to them while I'm at the gym or whatever. So the Daily Miss Motivational Inspirational Success Tip was born. And I love it because it's nothing fancy. There's no music. There's no interviews. It's just me. Hey, guys, here's today's thought. And I really love it because, as you know, I know I traveled a unique journey to the NFL.
Yes.
Undersized, walk on at Oregon, ACL tear, and play 9 years. I just know there's a lot of people that can maybe learn from some of the ups and downs and challenges and wins that I've experienced. So that's what I really love to do. So I'm glad that platform is available, that I can do that every day.
I think it's awesome you're doing it. We talked about it a couple of times, and I mean, I knew how busy you were, and I thought, well, I understand completely, because you've got other things going on. This is, my full-time gig, so it's a little different. But and I had 2 businesses at the same time. I had this and another business, and one of them I ended up just, I made a decision.
Right.
Because as you've said numerous times, you told me, if you put too much on your plate, that plate's going to overflow. And that's kind of what happened with me. And I made a decision on what I thought was best for me. But you're always busy. I mean, I don't know that you're not busy. I don't know that I've ever known you not to be busy. I guess I'll put it that way. But that's a good thing. I mean, people don't realize, and I tell people, I was telling Justin this prior times, the condition you keep yourself in always amazes me. And Tim was on the show. I think it was last week. Tim Grunhart came on.
Yeah.
And he's in phenomenal condition.
Yes.
I mean, he looks great.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it because we both had, just this surgeries and broken bones and everything. And I'm thinking, how the hell do these guys do it? Because I could barely, but Tim was telling me something about some kind of a workout that he does in Kansas City. I don't know what it is. I'm going to call him and ask him exactly what it is. But apparently, he can't really lift weights.
Right.
Especially with his arms and shoulders, because it hurts so bad.
Right.
I know how that feels. I mean, I've been through it every day. So, and I spent 30 years in the gym, but it's really hard to get, without just being in massive pain. but he swears up and down by this workout. And I guess that's what's keeping him in the shape he's in. You work out in a hot ass garage. I mean, I've seen you work out at that garage in Scottsdale when it's 120 and you're in there just working out. I mean, it's crazy. I'm thinking, man, I walk outside and I'm feeling like, man, why did I even walk outside right now? And he's in a garage, Justin, I'm telling you, man, he's in the garage, he's sweating. And
I know.
It's crazy, but it's just,
it's a mindset. It's a mindset, you know, and it's like, I mean, that's how I made it to the NFL, you know, just that mentality of, you know, realizing that there's a lot of things in this world you cannot control, but the things you can't control, you want to do your best. And I don't know what's happening in my body, but I can control what I put in my body and what I do with my body. And I'll tell you guys this too. When I had my last ACL surgery with my last year with the Falcons, Dr. Smith, who did my surgery, he says, JJ, I'm going to give you some advice. He says, don't stop working out. Keep your weight under control. He said, or you're going to have hundreds of surgeries. He says, or you can have a couple. It's up to you. And I never forgot that. And I said, I'm going to do my best to live a healthy lifestyle. And guys, I've had probably, I've had probably 7 surgeries, 3 knees, 2 shoulders, you know.
2 shoulders.
So that, you know, my hips are still good. I can still jog. I can still lift. So I want to work out as hard as I can, as long as I can. You know what I mean? Yeah. And plus, guys, I'm in an industry where I'm in the health and wellness industry. I'm on the stage. I'm speaking, and I want to project someone who talk the talks and walk the walk. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. You're putting out what you. I mean, you know, you put out what you do, and that's the difference between a lot of people. I mean, a lot of guys can go out on stage and say, you know, this is what I did 30 years ago or 25 years ago or whatever the case may be, but they look terrible. Where I tell you all the time, I still think you could probably run a 4.540. I tell Justin all the time, I remember standing there and watching you go by me. And the only reason I knew it was you was because of your stature and the way you ran, because nobody else had that speed. I mean, I tell everybody all the time, you were the first Tyreek because you were so fast and you had this weird sixth sense that I tell everybody all the time, that you knew when somebody was on you and you were able to get out of the way of the block or the hit. And that was something that I was just blown away by. Cause I mean, most guys, they had no clue it was coming up on them. Mm-hmm. They didn't know. You knew. I don't know what it was like. I used to tell this guy must have eyes in the back of his head because he knows when they're coming and he knows how to get out of the way. With the crowd noise and everything else that's going on, it was amazing to me that you were able to get out of the way. I mean, I don't know any other way of explaining it. You were awesome at it.
I appreciate that, because that was my survival. When you're 157 pounds, you better figure out how to get out of the way. And, and you know what's interesting is everyone, like today, they'll say, what was the hardest hit? I bet you took a lot of hits. But you know what, guys? I can really only count maybe 5 or 6 really hard hits where I got blasted. I mean, out of 9 years, you know, because the rest of the time, like you said, it was a move here, move there, and they were grabbing my ankles, you know. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, but when I did take those hits, so believe me, I felt it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, I remember it was a practice that Christian got you that time. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh man, he really hurt him. Yeah. And it scared me, and it really upset Christian. I mean, he was just, you were there, you know. He was upset he hit you. And I was like, he talked about it on one of our spaces one time. He goes, yeah, I remember that day. He said, I hated football. I said, I know. I said, you told me all the time how much you hated football. And he did. He hated football. He hated the game. And I think it was a lot of it was just on the understanding of the game and the fact that he's so soft-hearted in so many ways. He didn't want to hurt anybody. That was the crazy part, is he really didn't want to hurt anybody. But once he got the taste of it, man, it was dangerous. Yeah. It was dangerous.
I know. I learned quickly from Stephon Page, you know, because I was new to the Chiefs that year, and we were blocking, and I'm just doing my job, and Christian just he runs me over. I felt like I had a concussion. He hit me so hard, and Stephon goes, come here. He goes, when Christian has the ball, you got to keep your head on a swivel, because he's going to run you over in the defensive back. So then I started blocking like this.
Yeah.
That's not happening again.
Yeah, Christian, man, he hit hard. And, man, you know, I remember the first day I saw him, I was sitting next to Derek, and he come trotting out on the field, and I went, who's that guy? And he goes, that's Christian Okoye. And I said, quit lying. And he goes, no, it really is. And I said, that's the guy that ran like the 4.47 And he goes, yeah. I said, that's impossible. And he goes, wait until he gets into a full sprint. Yeah. And man, he took off, and I went, oh man, he is afraid. I feel sorry for anybody gets in his way because he was so big and so he was like a Adonis built, you know. I mean, he was just so perfectly built, you know, shredded and then just monstrous at the same time. I don't know. It was I was scared of him, and I was sitting on the bench. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, I don't even want to go near that guy right now. But he was such a nice guy. It was great to have all you. Now, one thing that Justin wanted to ask you was playing with Joe Montana. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and ask away, Justin, because I know you've been dying to ask this question.
Well, I mean, you know, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So just having that, I mean, how did that help your confidence? I mean, just playing with a guy like that and, you know, just knowing that he was that good.
Yeah, great question. Well, first, I had to get over the shock of playing with Joe Montana because Justin, I was in 8th grade when Joe Montana was throwing touchdown passes in San Francisco. And then now all of a sudden I'm in the huddle with him. It took me some time to kind of get over that star factor, you know.
Right.
But I tell this story that the very first play, we're in Kansas, first practice. So off season, first practice, everybody's there. Marcus Allen is there, Joe Montana. And this is the new Chiefs. And the very first play they call is X hook. So I'm an X. So I'm thinking like, hey, I'm getting Joe's first pass as the Kansas City Chiefs. So 12-yard hook. So I run up the field about 10 yards. He hits me in the back of the head with the ball. I understand this. I've run this route since high school. That has never happened. And then Joe goes, come here, kid. And then he calls Willie Davis. He says, come here. And he goes, okay. I don't wait for you guys to get open. I throw before you get there. So you got to get your head around faster and expect the ball to be there. And that was the first lesson I got from Joe, which enhanced my game about being faster at the top of the break, looking for the ball right away because Joe would anticipate it. But I knew that I said, okay, success leaves clues. I'm going to watch this guy like a hawk. And I tell you, Justin, he was pretty amazing. Just the consummate leader, you know, led by example, you know, and what was
JJ?
Hey, Ziggy, stop. That's my Alexa.
Yeah.
I renamed him.
JJ,
hey,
here's your
Ziggy, stop. Yeah, I renamed Alexa that name. So anyway, but no, Justin, it was cool. It was like I learned so much from him in 2 years, and I use a lot of the leadership things I learned from Joe in some of my keynotes, and probably the biggest thing I try to tell audiences is that, you know, when Joe came in, he had all these amazing accolades, but Joe came in, he was humble, he was hungry. He studied like a rookie, he prepared like a veteran, and he led like a pro. And that's what got us to the AFC Championship game. It was that Montana effect.
Yeah. Yeah. He was such a nice guy. I mean, it was crazy. Everybody always had this assumption of him that he was so arrogant, and because he was who he was not arrogant. I mean, he was just like every other guy. If you stood and talked to him, it was like, this is just an everyday guy, you know. I mean, he wasn't that guy, you know. So he could have easily been if he wanted to be, but he just never had that in him. You know, it was Joe. So
that's awesome.
He never did, and I didn't realize how much of a real superstar he was until we started traveling on the road, and how the crowds were just like, Joe.
Yeah.
They hired a retired Secret Service agent to protect Joe on the roads.
Yeah.
Because it was so, you know, the crowds were just so excited to see him and get near him.
Yeah. He was definitely something that, you know, I don't know. I mean, he was in your guys' day and his day, even prior to you, it was worse because, I mean, even when you played, defensive players were able to do anything they wanted. They could step on your hands. They could they could kick you in the head when they're walking by. They didn't care, you know. And Joe took a lot of hits in his career, and I mean, it was amazing that he played as long as he did, even through his back issue and everything, and came out and was able to take us where he took us.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was first brought in, I thought, man, I wonder how he just came off that back injury, and I wonder how much he's got left in the tank. And he had a lot left in the tank. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah. And you see now why quarterbacks can play longer now, because they don't have to take the kind of pounding that Montana and those guys took back in the day,
Yeah. Yep. And they're paying for it now. I mean, everybody does. I mean, no matter how you look at it, that the era of football post really 2010, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It just, really post 2000 post 2000, it started to gradually get easier.
Right.
And now it's almost, and you see it, JJ. I mean, they don't let DBs do anything. They got the flag in their hand before the ball snapped. I mean, everything is so different than it was before. And there's so much inconsistencies within the calls, like the last week. I mean, there was 38 holding calls. I mean, it was the most holds I've ever seen in one game in my life, and there's everybody knows it. There's a hold in every single play, no matter what. There's, you can't get away from it, but they seem to pick and choose, different ref groups or crews. They decide what they want to put out, and that's what they do. So you just kind of have to get by it, and hopefully they can figure out a way of making it more consistent. But
I feel bad for the defense players though, because the penalties they're getting for hits that, they're not trying to go for their head, but maybe that defender or that running back lowers himself, and then that DB ends up hitting him around. It's just, how do you play the defensive position and be able to think about how you're going to tackle these guys? Because it's all reaction and instinct. Right. So I just feel bad for them sometimes when they get called for some penalties.
Well, it seems like we talked about this. Chris Jones seems to get hit with a penalty, a horrible call, at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
That call that, with the roughing the passer call where he supposedly put all of his weight down. I mean, he did how are you going to stop a 287-pound body at full speed? He's not going to turn into Tinkerbell and fly away.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. And that was a horrid call. Some of them are, like you said, they're petty. They're really petty. And it's defensive.
And he tried to break his fall. He did. He was trying to break his fall, and they still called.
I don't know. I mean, he had one wrist on the ground, one elbow on the ground, and he could have really, with the speed and the weight, he could have destroyed his wrist, because he's already had wrist issues anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But he still did his best to stop from, putting all of his body weight on that guy, but they still called it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a pick and choose. And like you said, I mean, defenses, they don't know what to do anymore. I mean, they really don't. It's become now to where if a guy catches a deep ball, or if you're, God forbid, a corner is going after a wide receiver deep, he might as well just catch it at this point, because if he doesn't, he's going to get a flag. I mean, it just is what it is. They're standing there just waiting.
Yeah.
They're just waiting to toss that flag. So
it seems like offensively too, you can almost use that as a strategy in a way. Like if you're not going to get that ball as a receiver, you just go up and kind of pretend to go it and fall over, and you'll likely draw that flag. So I mean,
that's true. I would have loved to play today with these rules.
Oh, I told everybody. I've told people for years. I said, man, there's not a lot of guys that could probably step into this air attack offense and be able to play the game and be really successful at it from the old era. But I know for a fact, friends or not, you could have destroyed this league. I mean, you would have destroyed this league in this era. And I don't think people realize that, because you made some ignorant catches that should have never been caught. And your speed alone and your cuts and your route running was phenomenal for those days. I mean, most guys didn't have that ability. In fact, I don't know too many guys that did back in your day. I mean, there was a few, but none of them were really they didn't have that it factor, I guess. You had it. You just played in an era where it was Marty ball.
Yeah.
And we knew Marty. I mean, it was like, okay, wait a minute. It's fourth down and 1, 5. Oh, well, you might want to run that. We got Christian or we got Barry, So that was just Marty's philosophy.
I appreciate that compliment. Yeah, the game has definitely changed. And with some of the rule changes, with the defensive backs not being able to be as physical, not having to worry about going over the middle and getting your head knocked out. And even the offensive scheme, like you said, it's more of a pass dominant offensive schemes. I mean, now, guys, when we played, they never ran empty formation, where the quarterback's in shotgun. You got 5 people on the line. You know how how you can dictate the coverages and man and zone by having 5 and then move a guy. I mean, you can. That's why I think one of the reasons why I think Tyreek is so valuable, because they can move him around. They can create mismatches, and when he moves and that defensive back goes back and they know it's man to man, it's okay, Kyrie, just beat your guy, so they definitely changed the offenses.
Yeah, they definitely have. Well, I know you're busy, man. I just wanted to see how you've been doing, and how's everybody doing? How's the kids doing? Grandkids.
Kids are
Is that
good.
Weird to say, grandkids?
Oh yeah, dude. I'm grandpops.
I know.
Grandpops.
They call me Pop. So
Pops.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I know good. It's definitely different, isn't it? You don't feel your age, that's for sure. I never thought at our age I thought I would feel my age, and I don't. I don't mentally. I'm not.
Right.
In my 50s, so I don't look at it that way. But a lot of people do. A lot of people, I'm 50. I can't do this anymore. I can't do that anymore. That's not the case. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. You just got to put your mind to it, I guess.
And that's and my grandparents were they were moving around pretty slow at 50, 60. And I was like, well, I don't look or feel like my grandfather. I thought I would feel like kind of old and moving around slow. No, I mean, but that's the beauty, of taking care of your health.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I can be ready to chase these guys around. There's my
Yeah. Well, I know. With my dad's side of the family, they all lived into their hundreds. My grandfather was at 95 years old, was building cabinets.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't quit, and I think that's a secret to. Looking at my family, the secret to a long life is just keeping yourself busy. Just don't sit. Don't think, oh, I'm retired, I can sit on my butt, because I mean, it's gonna it'll catch up to you quick. So. But anyway, man.
All right, guys.
I know you're busy, and I really appreciate you coming on, bro.
Got to get back to working on my presentation.
All right, man.
Right.
Well, enjoy Chicago.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, JP. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
and everyone who's listening, make sure you go subscribe to my podcast.
Definitely.
The Daily Mist.
Yes, definitely subscribe and check out JJ's.
Yep.
If you look on Instagram, TikTok, it doesn't matter what social media. He's gonna, even on LinkedIn, because he puts out a daily affirmation, if you will, and he does a really good job of just getting you motivated. He's done that for me for 30 years, so he'll do it for everybody.
Yep. I mean, I'll tell you what. I follow you on Instagram, and I'll be about to go to bed about 11:30 at night, and I'll see one of your posts, and I feel like I got to get up and go run or go do some push-ups or something, because it gets me ready. I'll tell you.
Yeah. So, all right, JJ. Well, hey, man, enjoy your trip, and tell everybody said hi, and I hope everybody's well. And
safe
we'll talk later, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Justin. JP.
Thanks.
You guys have a great day. See ya.
You too, buddy.
You too.
That was great having him on.
Right. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. I've known him for so long, and he just, I mean, this wasn't even planned. I just texted him. I said, hey, you think you can jump on for a few minutes? Yeah, sure. And he stopped what he was doing, so he's just an awesome dude. So there's a little bit of Twitter controversy we need to go over really quick. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Right now it looks like yesterday was definitely a bad thing.
It's crazy.
We applied, God, I don't know, 6-7 times, and we have all the credentials. We've never been suspended. We don't argue with people. We don't do all the things that other people do. And we just kept, it was one after another where we didn't hear anything back. It wasn't the fact that we were being denied. We just didn't hear anything back. Well, I applied about 6 days ago, and then apparently we were approved. I didn't know this was happening, and we already had the Twitter blue and all that junk. In fact, we've even got an application in for other things, but I had no clue it was coming. And then somebody texted me, or they called me actually, and they said, whatever you do, be careful who you're retweeting. And I said, why? What's going on? I hadn't been on Twitter, and they said, you haven't been on Twitter? And I said, no. And he said, man, it's a zoo. And I said, why? What's going on? And he said, everybody and their brother's verified. I said, what? Yep. And he said, yeah. He said, everybody, guys with 12 followers are verified, that have no credentials whatsoever.
Right.
And now they're making up fake accounts and doing all this stuff. And, and I said, oh,
I saw
great.
fake Adam Schefter page tweeted about the Raiders coach getting fired, and people were believing it. I mean,
yeah.
So,
I mean, people out there, all you have to do is actually just look at their profile and see how many followers they have, see when they open their account. It's going to tell you who they actually are. But just don't retweet because you see their face.
Right. Now, if you click on their profile and then click on the check mark, it'll tell you if they're verified because they have Twitter Blue or if they are like somewhat of a.
Oh, well, that's
I saw
good.
that this morning. So
yeah, that's good.
They're trying to clean it up a little bit at least. But.
Well, he did say on his little spaces, well, it wasn't little. He had 2 million people that joined on his spaces that, it may be where because you had Twitter Blue, it's going to say that for a while. And then when you are verified, they're trying to clean it up to where if you're verified, then when you click on that, it won't say anything. They wanted to have a thing where it was notable, I guess, some kind of, but he said it was aesthetically not pleasing to Twitter. So I guess that's how they're going to do it. But he said it's going to take a little time to make sure that everybody that is verified correctly and not just bought into the option, when you click on it, it'll just say verified. It won't say anything.
Yeah.
And then he said, but right now everybody says it. So it doesn't really matter.
Right.
I mean, if they click on it, it's going to say, unless they're starting to clean it up now. But I mean, there's millions of verified people now. So
right. I mean,
you just have to be careful
of the credibility of it.
Yeah, it does.
It ruins the credibility of it. Because before, you could be lazy, and if they just had that check up top, then you could, I mean, for as far as sports stuff, it was usually somewhat believable. I mean, you usually like to dig a little bit, but it didn't take as much. But now, you got to do your research before you start believing anything.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, we don't, I don't know. It's crazy how it worked out. And I don't know if it was because of the application or the fact that I was already Twitter Blue. I don't know what it was, but we've got all the credentials to be verified. It just took a very long time to get it done. And in fact, the KC Monarchs had tried. Oh yeah, they had tried 20 some odd times before, and they were turned down every single time, which was strange. Willie Gay was never verified. Guys like that you think that should be weren't. So, but what I did find out is that at the time they had 12 people doing all of the verifications.
Oh yeah.
So how are you going to? Plus, especially with all the people that shouldn't be verified applying, then some slip through the cracks. Like we saw a guy one time, I did actually, and I said, okay, this guy, his bio says, I'm Dave. I like to play video games. He had no website. He had nothing. And he had like 220 followers. And I said, wait a minute, this dude just got verified in 2021, but yet we can't. It made no sense. But now it looks like he's going to clean things up and get it. Hopefully he does. I don't know. It was a mess yesterday, and it probably still is. There's a lot of verified. We have a scam account out there that puts out fake junk all day long. So be careful when you guys look at our account because there is a fake account out there. And I don't know what's going to happen to them, but they're fake. Oh, it looks like Justin fell off. He'll probably come right back on. What's up, Diz? What's up, Phil? How you guys doing? Hope everything's good with you guys today. It was nice seeing JJ on the show. Wasn't scripted. I just texted him and he said, yeah, man, I'm preparing for a seminar and I don't want to, or a presentation. He says, and I'm tired. I want to take a break. So this is a perfect time. I said, okay. So it was nice to have him on and get his input on what's going on with the Chiefs and how things are going. But anyway, with you guys out there that are following all these accounts, be really careful because some of them are, of course, fake. Some of them aren't. There's Justin. He's back. Some of them aren't real. So you just have to be careful and watch who you retweet. Now you have to look at everybody's account and see if they're, something that you want to pay attention to. I'm not saying that, everybody's bad or whatever the case is, or they shouldn't be. But there's a lot of people that probably shouldn't be. Yeah. There's big accounts that shouldn't be verified. So, and never would have been if he wouldn't have rolled this out. I'll put it that way. We had all the credentials, and I think this time it would have taken place. But if this wasn't the reason why, I don't know. But eventually he will eliminate the ones that shouldn't be and keep the people that should, the people that do the things that shouldn't be done on Twitter, because the one thing that they made very clear is that they were going to continue with keeping up with safety on Twitter the hate speech, the negative talk, all the other stuff that they do, they're going to keep up with that. So hopefully that helps to some degree. I don't know if it will or won't, but anyway, the Chiefs did try to go after a couple of players. They did have some interest in Abram. That didn't work out. The OBJ thing, we saw what Mark Gannell's did with him, and the little bit of fit that who was it? Somebody had a fit from Dallas.
Micah Parsons.
Yeah, Micah Parsons.
Yep. Which, he got some fame off of it. He was all over everywhere. So
he did. I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from the guy.
No.
He's great.
Yeah, not at all. I love the stuff, but
you got to win a playoff game before you can, say that you're the team.
Yep.
So, and
especially
the one thing Odell wants is to win.
Yep.
So, I've heard rumblings that that's probably where he's going to end up. We don't know for sure. I mean, it's ultimately up to him what he decides to do.
But I do expect I think he'll sign somewhere here pretty soon. I mean, he's going to be healthy by the end of this week is what they said. So
yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't make sense to bring him in any later than right now. So
well, it's strange because we had talked about this on another live stream. Aaron Wilson and Nick Athens was on, and we had said that we knew he was supposed to be ready by the second week of November.
Mm-hmm.
And then other people came out and said, oh no, he's not going to be ready until the end of December. It's not worth signing him, this, that, and these were checkmark guys, high profile insiders, but they didn't really know that he was actually going to be ready soon enough.
Right.
And he's going to be ready to play. He's going to be cleared this week.
Yep.
So
yep.
let's see what happens.
Yep. I think it'd be smart to bring him in as soon as possible, no matter who gets him, because we've seen it with Mahomes and Juju. It takes a few weeks to really get some good chemistry going, no matter how great both players are. So, you want him. Ideally, he's more of a playoff type guy. So, give you an extra push. So, get him in now, build that chemistry, and be smooth sailing from there.
Well, I know he was very adamant about not wanting to be that number one wide receiver, and he wants to be that guy that number 2, number 3, whatever.
Right.
He kind of liked that role that he had with the Rams.
Yeah.
And I know he wants to continue with that.
Right.
I have a feeling if he goes to Dallas, they're going to want him on every single play.
Yeah, I could see that.
And that's not what he wants. He wants to go somewhere where he can contribute and win.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's got a better option than here now.
No, not at all. I think he'd be a great fit. But we talked about that a little bit Sunday night.
Yeah.
So,
I think he'd fit in well, and I think he would be an attribute.
Yeah.
I can't say he's going to be the guy that wins us a Super Bowl, but I can say he can help.
Right.
We had the injury-prone Sammy Watkins that helped. So, I don't know. It's just something we'll have to watch. I know he's still got us on his mind, and we've got our minds on him, and
sure.
We just have to go with the flow and see what happens. But it's ultimately up to him.
Yep.
That's the one good thing about being a free agent is you can make your choice. You don't have to worry about what team is going to trade you where. You can make your decision and go with it.
Yep.
So hopefully that's he makes the right decision for him and go from there. But he tends to be very kind of quiet about what he wants to do and how he wants to do it, other than how he or where he wants to go, I should say. But he definitely was very adamant about how he wants to play the rest of his career. So, and he doesn't want to go somewhere where it's going to be a 1-year rental.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be one of those things that he makes the decision on what's best for him. But what else do we got?
Here you go. Just a little. I saw something on Twitter the other day. Who do you think is the most underrated Chiefs player from this on this point on, or from the so far?
Underrated. Underrated Chiefs player.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of them out there that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say because we've got 3 rookies back there. They've talked about Jalen Watson a lot. I would almost have to say maybe like a Noah Gray.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely see him. He's been someone that's really, he's been productive, but no one's really given him as much attention as I think he's deserved. But And then defensively, I think my mind went right to, I mean, like you said, the secondary. But then, I mean, L'Jarius Sneed was one that really stood out to me as far as production over recognition.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but yeah, that entire secondary has just been phenomenal. So, but I mean, really everybody. There's been a lot of people, and that's what it takes to have a winning team like that. But there's been a lot of people that just haven't got the recognition they deserve.
Yeah, I agree. Who did they say was the most unappreciated? Did anybody come up with that?
There were a few. I mean, it was a lot of Noah Graves, L'Jarius Sneed, a lot of the rookie back or defensive backs, stuff like that. So, which I think a lot of it would come defensively because it's normally the offensive guys, unless you've got a real defensive stud. It's normally the offensive guys that get the most glory and attention. So, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. JJ just put out a tweet, so I was tweeting back to him. Anyway, it's interesting because there's so many guys on our team that fly under the radar, I guess, and they don't really get recognized because there's so many other players that people name. They always say Juju, they always say Mahomes, they always say Kelsey, but there's guys that are so underappreciated because you got those names on the show that are on the game that are in the game that makes such an impact.
Yeah, for sure.
They're worldwide names, so it's kind of hard to. It almost overshadows the fact that you have so many other great players on the team,
right? Which I guess in a sense is a good thing because if you look at a successful Super Bowl winning team, they're going to have a lot of guys like that. I mean, they're solid role players, but I mean, not everyone can stand out. So
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
The one thing JJ mentioned, and I we've been to emphasize so much, is how Pat's spreading the ball out now.
Yeah.
So much, and he's doing so well with these new guys and bringing on such a powerful presence, and that's what they're doing in such a short period of time. And people, like we had talked about with him, people complain and they, they go through all their, why don't we have it run stopper? Well, I mean, it takes a little time to figure out which guy is going to fit in what spot.
Exactly.
Saunders did a great job. We know that when Frank comes back, I think he's going to be an absolute beast when he shows back up. I mean, I don't think he's going to sit for any reason.
No. He's got a chip on his shoulder for sure. So
I agree. And I think he's going to really I don't think the game would have been nearly as close. And I don't think Henry would have broke the runs that he had gotten if Frank would have been on the field.
Right.
So he's in my opinion, he's one of the most underrated players within Chiefs Kingdom because people just love to slam him.
Right. I think he's one of those guys that are underrated for other fan bases. I mean, I feel like the majority of at least real Chiefs fans, I mean, everyone appreciates Frank Clark and they kind of see him as one of the faces of the defense. But then as far as if he's not on your team, then it's kind of tougher to, give him his appreciation, I think. And that's.
Well, you hear a lot of people say, his contract, even within Chiefs Kingdom, his contract was too big, this, that, and the other. He hasn't worked out. He hasn't played well. I don't think they realize, one, what he goes through, but on a daily basis, but also how he contributes in the game that he may not get a sack every game.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because he's keeping people from running to that side.
Exactly.
He's keeping running backs at bay. He's keeping wide receivers at bay at some point to some degree. And he's keeping quarterbacks on their toes. And that's what you really have to have. Yeah, edge rushers, you expect them all day long to, be Derek Thomas. And, it's just not going to be that. I mean, there's always, you're going up against 350-pound guys, 330-pound guys, and you're not that big. So it's when you're double teamed, technique doesn't really help as much.
Right.
You still need to have it, but it doesn't help as much. But he does keep people from running to his side, and he helps contain that defensive line.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's something that him and Chris both do a great job of. They might not have great stats, but if you just watch the game, they're scheming around both of them every play. And then also, they have just the ability to, they'll blow up one of the linemen, and then that forces somewhere else to give someone else the tackle or whatever. So they're more of just a dominant, unnoticeable type talent, I feel like.
I agree.
Just looking at paper. So,
and if you look at it, the defensive line this year has really helped Nick Bolton and Willie Gay because when you can slow down someone to a point, a running back or a play, whatever case, whether it be, you're you're putting a lot of pressure on, or you're getting close to the quarterback and he's got to throw quickly and he makes an errant throw, or it ends up being an interception or in the dirt. But if it's a run play, and if they slow that running back down enough, it gives arguably the best tackler in football right now, which is Nick Bolton, an opportunity to step in the way and take that person down.
Right. And
then you got Willie Gay, that's one of the faster guys in the league and can tackle like none other. With those two together, that secondary is kind of, or that linebacker core is kind of locked up. So it doesn't really help. It doesn't really allow a running back to get into the secondary too much.
Right.
Henry is a monster. Okay. It is what it is. He's a monster. We've had 59-yard games where he couldn't get through, 86-yard games where he didn't get through. And then this week he had a couple big runs that helped him get to the numbers he was at. But when you really look at it, they contained him for the most part.
Yeah. I was going to say he had like 2 carries for 70 yards or something. And then other than that, talking about.
The rest of them were 1-2 yards. And sometimes he would stop at the line.
His average was 3 maybe at the most.
Yeah.
Per carry.
Take away that, those 2 big runs. But ultimately we won that game, and that was a lot of the defense. Of course, Mahomes put it on his shoulders in the second half, and as far as the offense was concerned,
on his legs,
his legs, I should say, yeah. But the defense really held their own, and that's hard to do in this league, no matter who you're playing. It doesn't matter if it was Malik Willis, it doesn't matter if it was Ryan Tannehill, it doesn't matter if who it was, it doesn't matter if it's Josh Allen.
Right.
It's hard to contain, and we contained Josh Allen to 24 points.
Right.
You know how hard that is to do?
Yeah.
That's a team that was scoring. They were actually really close to us as far as points per game.
Right.
And now, because of other reasons, we're the leading scoring team in football. So I don't know. It's just hard to put into words how well this team has gotten together in a short period of time with so many rookies and so many different people, first-year starters, and everybody stepping in. It's not easy to do. And these guys have done a great job of it. Now, they're just progressively getting better. That's the good part, is they're just getting better, and they're figuring out, like Saunders last week. Man, he is a force.
Yeah.
The guy's a force. He should be starting, in my opinion.
I agree. I think last week was as big a case as you can get until he started. That was great performance.
Yeah. So it really was. So I don't know. We're not Spags, and we're not on the field, so we don't know what they want or what they see. Spags has his own way of doing things. I know Andy has stepped in to some degree to help that move along forward. That's why he has had the success he's had with that defense, that and the fact that he's brought in great players, or Veach has, but it's all about doing the right thing at the right time, and he's just figuring it out. So
and there's a lot more that plays into it than just what we see on Sundays. So I'm sure, I'll leave it at that. But there's a lot of stuff that plays into it that affect the decision too. But I definitely think that next week he'll at least see an increase in snap count. I couldn't see any way he didn't. But so moving on from the Chiefs a little bit, but kind of sticking to what we were talking about. Mentioned Josh Allen. We watched a lot of football and analyze a lot of stuff. What are your thoughts on that injury that he's having?
Well, it makes me a little bit nervous because, and I don't want to see the guy get hurt. I don't want to see him out of the game.
Right.
I actually sent that picture to you.
Oh, yeah.
There was a picture that I found of him when he got hit. And what I noticed on his elbow was not really normal.
Right.
And it doesn't look good. So, and it wasn't a great picture, but it was enough. I had to circle it so I could make sure that everybody saw it. But it was something that made me a little bit nervous for the guy. They're saying day to day right now. They're saying that because he apparently went to a specialist and to see if what he's got going on there. But as of a few days ago, it didn't look very good. I'm hoping it doesn't. I hope he doesn't decide that he can play through it for the rest of the year, because it's gonna, if it's as serious as what we've been kind of told it's been, But if he, because it will run him in
Right.
the long run.
Yeah. I think the team would rather have him, take a few games off and then come in, play well in the playoffs. Or even just take a season off rather than his career. So no matter what the extent of that is, I think, right now is as important as the next 10, 15 years that you can get out of him, especially a player like that. And so, I think that's very important. We're kind of seeing it with Justin Herbert this year. He took that rib injury, and I personally probably would have sat him. They see a lot closer than I do, but at least a game, maybe two, because just let him heal. But I think you can definitely tell in his play. Deep balls, he's wincing every play. And
he's not healed up. It takes 8 weeks with no movement to heal that up, minimum.
Right.
And he went out the next week. He played he should have not even been in the game at that point.
Yeah.
But that's Staley.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's Staley.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this will probably be, if he doesn't make it to the playoffs this year or something else happens to Allen, this is going to be, he's on the hot seat anyway.
Right.
So
for sure,
he's probably going to be done after this year.
We're talking about just like the same situation with the Bills. We're talking about a team with some stars, and they have some high potential. And risk your franchise quarterback's career, I just don't think it's smart. So
it's not. It's just not a good idea. I don't know. I don't know what to say at this point. I think they just need to he needs to really evaluate what's best for him.
Right.
Because his window's going to be open for a while.
Sure. He's
a great quarterback that has a lot of potential. And I know they got, they did spend $160 million on Von Miller, but he doesn't look to be slowing down. So I think he'll be there next year for the defense. And I don't know if it's worth him risking a long-term career for a short-term fix. Right. And if he has to sit for the rest of the season, then that's what you do.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, Case Keenum's their backup, I believe. And honestly, we're talking about a team. Maybe not Super Bowl contenders after that, but they would probably likely still win a few games with the talent that they have, and then still having an experienced quarterback like that. It wouldn't be the end of the world, I don't think, for that franchise.
No, it wouldn't. I think Keenum is a very good quarterback. He's not Josh Allen, of course. He's a very good quarterback, and he could take the role if he has to. I think I got a strange feeling Allen may not be playing this Sunday. So
I could definitely see it.
We'll see what Keenan has, but this is not for any other reason other than he's good for football. He's good for everything, really. It's great to see the rivalry between him and Mahomes as far as this, that, and the other, and stats, or if you want to call it that. But he's just good for football, and I think it needs to be. People need to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have to see what happens with him. I don't know. It's going to suck if he's out for a while.
Right.
So Brandon Cooks went back to the Texans.
I saw that.
He's playing. Yep. Good old Aaron Wilson, friend of our show and contributor, put that out. So that's good to see.
Yep. He's a great player, and he's been stuck in some not ideal circumstances as far as his career's gone. But we're talking about a guy that he's put up some really good numbers despite all that. So it speaks volume about your career. It's one of those things that 10 years from now you won't notice it. You'll still see great stats, but just right now in the moment, it's ridiculous what he's been able to do with his situation that he's been in. So
that team is so dysfunctional anyway, or has been. And this is I don't know. It's got to be hard on him because, that team's always had the reputation of running good players. And hopefully he gets what he wants in the end. But see, he's putting out things like he's in a press conference right now, and Aaron's posting him right now. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. We got one more game without Willie Gay.
Yep. Or Frank Clark.
I'm sorry, Frank Clark. And then he's back. So that's always a great thing. By the way, Saunders is back to practice. He was off for personal reasons. He's back. What else?
It's a good game.
It's going to be good.
Had some. They've actually been off to a pretty good start. They've got some talent, so it'll be interesting to see how they merge against each other. But
the Chiefs are just going to have to not they're going to have to go in there with the full intensity and not play down to their opponent.
Right.
And if they can do that, then they'll be okay.
Yep. So.
And that's, that's why I was wondering if JJ had any input on them playing better on the road than they do at home. They just play with more intensity on the road. Yeah. And I don't know. It just seems like they need to bring that same intensity at Arrowhead.
Right.
Play a little faster, get off to a faster start, things of that nature that they do on the road. It seems like every game. So,
and I think part of that is that now, I think it's safe to say that the Chiefs are one of the most hated teams by other teams.
Oh, without fail. Yeah.
So, when you're coming in and you're the supervillain, I don't know. Maybe it just gives you a little more swagger about you. You kind of play with more like intensity and ready to just show everybody, So
yeah, I agree. I mean, when it comes to fan bases, the teams have a lot of respect for Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy as far as the team is concerned. But when you get, unless you're talking about the Raiders or somebody else, but, and they still have respect for him. They know he's good. They know he is who he is. And they know he's the best in football. They know Andy's the best coach in football. Right. And they know Veach is really the best GM in football, bringing in these players and being able to cultivate them so quickly. So I think it's more of a fan base thing. When you got guys like Mahomes that walk out onto a field and they say the nasty things about his wife or the stupid things about his brother, then that just fires him up even more.
Right.
And it gets him going. But
which real quick, that is something else too. Shout out to his family, because I've been seeing a lot on Twitter where they'll be posting something about the game or like congratulating Patrick about something or something, and everybody's just dogging on them, and it's not even related to anything like that. So shout out to them for just taking the heat. And
it sucks because at one point they were kind of involved with some of that stuff. They've grown up since then. They've it's not a matter of anything other than just growing up to a degree and realizing what who he is, who you are.
Mahomes is so good.
Relationship to him. So
and Mahomes is so good they can't say anything to him. So they just find the closest people to him that are the most vulnerable to stuff like that. They just let him have it. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to see the team just grow and get a little bit better each week. Yeah. And I don't doubt that they'll be in the AFC Championship game no matter who they're playing. Whether it be, right now I think they have the tiebreaker with Buffalo because of the loss, but we are leading our division and they're not.
Right.
So, at the end of the season, we'll just have to see where they're at. Buffalo is a great football team. There's no doubt about it. Our defense did a great job of holding them to well under their standards of points.
Right.
So, I can't see how our defense is going to not do that with everybody else. The one team that makes me a little bit nervous, I would say that would be a game that would be tough, would be Seattle.
Yeah.
They're playing out of their shoes right now. Geno Smith is awesome.
Geno Smith and all them. I'm going to be honest. Obviously I want the Chiefs to pull out in that one, but as far as the rest of the season is concerned, I'm really been rooting for Geno Smith and that team. So it's kind of
I am too.
Watch him.
Yep. Geno has turned that team around and for the good, and you got Russell that turned a team around for the bad. So he just kind of showed his true colors of who he really is now and mentally who he is. He's very, everybody talks about how arrogant he is. When you got, guys like Kyle Brandt that, say that he went to the NFL awards and put his hand up, like, wearing his sunglasses and hiding his face. We're not talking.
Right.
And the best quarterback in football stand there and talk to him for 20 minutes, and the best tight end in football stand there and talk to him. And then you got this. I don't know. He doesn't have a J or a Z in his name, so he needs to realize, he's not that. And Sierra doesn't have a B in her name, so
exactly.
When they get to that status, then it's a different story. But right now, they need to realize and humble themselves down. So, but with that being said, I don't know what else we got, man.
Real quick, I want to hear. We're officially at the halfway point of the season. So let's hear your award, MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, everything for this part of the season. I think we probably agree on MVP.
Yeah, MVP is definitely Pat. But as far as like standout players, honestly, offensively is Juju.
Yep.
And defensively, I would have to give it to God, that's a tough one. I mean, Jalen Watson has done so well, but when you really look at the amount of games that McDuffie has played, he has not allowed a single catch.
Yeah.
And I think he's only had one penalty, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to say defensively it's him.
Yeah.
To come out and play so well.
I'm excited to see what he does the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So
they keep playing like they are and keep improving like they are. It's going to be really difficult for anybody to beat us at this point.
So
I don't know. But you got score predictions for Sunday?
Man. It's at Arrowhead, so you got to go down lower than you'd expect.
Yes.
So I'm going to go, let's see here, 28-17. That's
a good number. That's a good number. I was, if it would have been away, I would have probably said 38-17.
Yeah, I was thinking 35-17, but I took some off.
I'm going to say 33-21.
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to leave it there because it's so difficult to – I don't want to take away from what we can do at home, but it's just been difficult for us to I don't know why, but I'll leave it at that. I think we're going to put at least 30 on the board, if not more. So
I'd love to see that. I mean,
we need to keep that streak going of, highest scoring offense.
Right. Yep.
I think we can do it. So
win's a win nonetheless. So that's all I'll be happy with that. So
yeah, definitely. So, well, I think we should end this one, and we will convene again soon.
Yep. JJ for hopping on.
Yep.
Stay tuned this next week. We might have something in the works for some exciting stuff.
Yes, definitely. We got Justin doing something that will probably be really cool for everybody to see.
Yep.
So with that being said, we appreciate everybody that joined in. Thank you, JJ, again for jumping on such short notice. I mean, when you can text a guy like him and say, hey, man, you don't mind jumping on the show? And he says, yeah, I want to take a break anyway. And he does, as busy as he is. Great guy.
Yep.
So appreciate him for coming on, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Yep.
Peace out, everybody.